Hey guys, before we jump into today's video, if you wouldn't mind, smash that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If this channel is not necessarily your forte, let's just say you can appreciate all the hard work my wife puts into the editing, but you don't really care about what's happening on a farm. It's a shame, you should, but if you don't, we get it. Still smash that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, share, because it doesn't cost anything and you guys really help us out. So thank you all for watching. We got a lot of fun things coming, and you know, we got trains. Who doesn't like trains? Yeah, we set this up with the kids when it was raining for a few days, and I can't bring myself to take them down. They're fun. Who doesn't like trains? Come on. Anyway, thank you all for watching. On to the video. We went ahead and got the combines all ready for wheat. All I've got left to do is clean windows, blow the cab out, and clean some air filters. That's it. Everything else is ready. We fixed the header. You remember back in I think it was the very first video, our seals were leaking on this grain table, and it was dripping oil out of them. So we tore the cylinders apart, Eugene and I did, and replaced all the packing down inside the cylinder as well as the seals at the top. And we did that for both cylinders. There's one here and one on the other end that lifts this whole reel up and down. So that was done. We also had to replace a bunch of the finger guides. See the white? Uh-oh. Hey, look who it is. Ben at Farm Focus. Hello, Richard Addis.
Hey, Richard, it's Ben.
Hey, Ben, how are you, sir? That was Ben from Farm Focus. He had seen the video where we had the tractor broke down, and he was honestly just calling to check in on us, make sure that the tune was still working good, that there really wasn't any issues with the tune related to the issues we were having with the tractor. I assured him, nope, there was absolutely nothing to do with the tune. You know, as we covered, it was the emissions system on the tractor that was giving us the issues. So again, I don't mind touting somebody that has awesome customer service, and that man right there just went out of his way to call one customer just to check in and see how things were going. And I don't think that's something he did just because we did a review. I think that's just how he runs his business. So kudos to him for that. I think that's awesome. Okay, where we leave off? Oh yeah, so we rebuilt the cylinders on the head. Here's the other one on the other side. It's rebuilt. We also had to do a little bit of work replacing one of the bearings for the pivot down here, which helps it guide over when we have to cut soybeans. The header is right on the ground, so it helps it guide over that. And we also had to put locks up underneath the head to keep it from floating. This is what they call a floating head, where this cutter bar down here, when we're cutting soybeans, will actually contour over the ground. If you have a hill, it'll ride up over the hill to maintain that 1-inch cutting height all the way across the field, regardless if you have hills or terraces or what have you. Now, obviously there's a limit to how much it flexes, but it can flex quite a bit. So the locks, when we're cutting wheat, we don't want that, because when the header's lifted, it has a sag in it. And that constant sag would eventually wear this cutter bar out that's moving back and forth. So you lock the head up so it doesn't flex anymore, and it keeps the cutter bar nice and straight going back and forth, and it doesn't wear it out as fast. So that was done. We did that. Where did I leave off? Oh, that's right. See these white, the white rings around the fingers here? Those are guides. And we had to go into the drum. There's an access panel there and there. We had to go inside the drum and pull the fingers out and replace those guides. If you don't, there's a couple things that could happen. One is you could really mess up the inner workings in there, and it's basically like an offset concentric wheel that keeps the fingers always in the same spot, and they're grabbing in the front and you don't see them in the back. So if you see, the fingers are longer in the front here than they are the top, and then they're not even poking out of the back at all. So they always are out up here, and that helps grab the crop and take it into the head, but not bring the crop back around. But anyway, that was all done. Something else Eugene and I worked on. To be honest with you, we did so much I kind of forgot everything. Obviously, we put the head on the combine, back on the machine. We had to finish putting shields on the machine from when we did all the work to it. We went through and did a preliminary setting of everything for cutting wheat. We had to put the straw chopper up, which just basically takes the wheat straw and chops it up into fine pieces about yay long. That way it breaks down in the field and you're not left with these big mats of straw. Some people bale their straw. We don't. We're not going to, because there is a lot of good potash in that straw for when it breaks down in the field, which means you don't have to spend more money on potash on the next year's crop, because you get some credit from the straw having potash in it. That's it. I mean, really, we just got the combine ready. You know, did some maintenance, some work on stuff. That's really about it. Okay, now, what's the rest of the day going to entail? Well, we've got to, one, go down and look at the last 10 acres or 11 acres of corn that we planted on that rice farm, and see if it's ready to spray. If it is, I'd like to get that done, get the sprayer cleaned out with no atrazine in it, because then we have to go to spray in soybeans, and you don't want any atrazine at all in the soybean mix because it will kill them. So I'd like to get that done out of the way and off my plate. I also, the 45 acres of soybeans that we planted, we've got quite a bit of deer damage along the wood lines, and I'd like to get out there and possibly replant 3 or 4 acres of that. But we want to go look, because we just had 0.6 of an inch of rain, and I don't want to go out there if it's tacky and tear things up. So we got to jump in a pickup truck, do some driving around. It is what it is, as I said, but it is a beautiful day. It's just gorgeous. It's supposed to be like this all week. I think the highest temperature the next 10 days is like 82, which is, again, unheard of for us, with really not a crazy amount of humidity. So it is perfect growing conditions for corn. Speaking of corn, let's take a walk. Let's see how our crop is doing. There you go. I mean, to me, it's awesome that this corn has grown 6-7 feet in 6-7 weeks. I mean, that's a foot a week. That's amazing. It's over an inch a day, if you think about it that way. It's walking, it's getting it. She's running. And everything looks healthy. I don't see any signs of stress anywhere. The one unique thing is we gotta keep an eye on Reese now, because he'll walk into the corner and that's it, he's gone, he disappears. So we got to really keep an eye on him when he's out here. But so let's look at our leaf collars. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're at V8. Maybe some of them, yeah, V9, but V8. We're at V8 corn stage right now. So the corn is really, at this point, is really starting to use nitrogen. Now I know we've put nitrogen down already. It's still there, hasn't gone anywhere. But once this corn, give it another 3 to 4 weeks, this corn will start to tassel. And that is when it really needs the perfect weather. Because when that tassel puts out at the top, that pollinates the ear beneath it. So a corn, you could think of corn almost as a hermaphrodite, in that it reproduces with itself. It has both male and female parts on it. The tassel at the top is the pollen that falls down on the silk of the corn ear. I'm sure everybody that has eaten sweet corn, you know, as you pull the leaves off the ear, you have that silk inside. Every single kernel has its own silk, has its own strand of silk. And what happens is that pollen falls down and hits that strand of silk, and that actually fertilizes that particular kernel. And that's how the kernels fill out. If you have a really hot, dry spell during the pollination process, you'll have a lot of aborted kernels, because the pollen becomes inert on the way down because it's so hot and does not properly pollinate the silk, and you have ears that just don't have kernels on them, or have a lot of aborted kernels. So that's something kind of neat about a corn plant, that basically it's reproducing with itself. There's some jokes to be made there, but we try to keep this family friendly. Goodness. Bye, family. I love you. I'm looking forward to my freedom as you leave. Love you. Bye. It's beer drinking time. Not really. It felt good to say it. On to the next thing. Whew, hot. Well, as you can see, we got a little deer right here. If you look closely, look at his eyes, full of ticks and tumors. This is what happens when you have way too many deer in a tightly populated area. They get diseases, and this is what the development is doing, not only to the farmers, because it's forcing the deer into the fields, but it's causing the deer to get so tightly compacted together that they share disease much more quickly. And I think that's what we're seeing here, is this deer is blind because of ticks and what looks like tumors. I can only assume it's tumors growing on him. Look how emaciated he is, really skinny. He's probably not going to make it. We're not going to interfere with Mother Nature. I mean, you probably could try to get him to a vet, but I don't know that there's anything they're going to do, because I believe DNR, they want you to just leave him be. It is quite sad to see, but I don't even think he knows. I mean, he's blind. I don't think he knows where the water is, and doesn't know where the food is. He's just kind of wandering around. It's sad to see that, but this is a reality of development. So this is that 11-acre rice field, I call it. As you can see, this all got drowned out when we had that 3-inch rain, and there's still water laying in here, but look at the grass that's coming in as a result of washing away our pre-emerge. You can see the corn is yellow kind of throughout the whole field, and that is because of poor drainage. The soil is basically inundated with water, and when that happens, it removes the oxygen from the soil, which removes oxygen to the plant, and you're left with this. So again, this is one of those farms that it could be a decent farm if we got proper drainage and all that on it, but given that it's sold and I didn't know how many years I was going to have it, it wasn't worth spending the money and the energy to do it, because it would have been quite expensive, and it's not my land to do it on. That and the deer, obviously. But we're going to have to get out here and spray this. I might let it sit a day. This is still mucky even where I'm standing, so I might just let this sit a day, dry up a little bit on the surface, and then we'll come in and spray and be done with it. So on the next field, we're going to go check those beans that we got to replant. I tell you, that's sad to see, and it's not his fault. It's a result of the times, if you will, in this area. Well, here we are out in the bean field, and this side looks really good. I've got a good stand. Everything's coming up pretty well. You can see where deer have been nibbling, but everything's coming up pretty uniform. It's I'm pretty happy with it. If you look, you can kind of see in this area, like here, going all around and back to there, it looks just a little thinner, and that is because of deer damage. And we'll take a walk up here. I'll show you. I mean, you could easily see the deer prints. I mean, the problem is they nibble it off and just leave, that's just a weed, but they nibble off the bean and just leave the stalk, and then nothing can grow. If they leave a little something, they will try to put more leaves out, but they've got to leave something. If they don't, then you're just left with a stalk, and then you got nothing. They've eaten all of this, and they will literally just walk down the row and munch, 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 just like a little lawnmower. See, look, cut right along, and then they stopped eating, and then look at the plant. So they ate those 5 plants right in a row. If you look, this is all deer damage. Every bit of this right here, it's all deer damage. However, I'm encouraged. I might not have to come back and replant this, because they left one leaf somewhere along the line. They screwed up. they left a leaf, and they are coming back to life, which is good to see. Some of them are not, but I would say 80% of them are coming back. Now look, like these won't come back. So they munched. Yeah, so here's deer tracks here. They must have just done this right before it rained. This was done today. See how fresh this track looks, how the ground is dry around it, where they kicked up the dirt and it dried out. So this had to have been last night or this morning that they were out here. And that's an old track, probably from when we got that heavy rain. I might have to wait on this. We might not be replanting this, because it is coming back. There's some hope for it, but they really, I mean, you can just see they've this whole area. I mean, they come out of these woods, and for safety they stay near the wood, so if there's a predator around, they can jump back in. But I mean, they've eaten a lot of that down there, all of this. I would say right here they've taken a good 2 acres. I'd say they've taken a good 2 acres off here. Now the rest of this looks pretty good. I don't know what I could see. It looks thin over there along that wood line, so we'll have to go down there and look at that. But overall, the field looks pretty uniform and in decent shape. And we're going to go over here to this other side and take a look at it. and see what it looks like. I think we have some other problems on this side. So over here on the other, around the corner here, the woods, we've got some other issues. Now we do have some weed pressure right along this roadway here. That's fine. I'm not too worried about that. Roundup will smoke all that. They have really destroyed this side, but when I looked at this the other day, we had sticks. I'm starting to see some leaf production again. So as you see, there is some plants that are recovering here, but they have really destroyed, I don't know, 3 maybe 4 acres of this. I mean, they've gone out quite a bit into this, but it does appear to be coming back some. So if they stay off of it for just a couple weeks and allow these to bloom again and grow and get to a certain height, then they're no longer destroying the plant, really. They're eating on it, which will affect yield, but they're not destroying it. This is the most critical time when the deer in one bite can just pretty much eat the entire plant. Once it gets to about knee high, then they really stop devouring the entire plant and they're just eating leaves off of it, and the plant will survive. I honestly don't know what to do with this, because this is pretty bare and pitiful in here. But again, they're coming back. I mean, you can see here where they nipped them off, but we're starting to get some new leaf growth. If it keeps growing, we're already ahead of, you know, if I were to plant, we're already way ahead of it if it keeps growing. And we got little patches of these weeds. I'm not overly concerned with that. I'll hit that. We might even come out here and just do some spot spraying, because you don't want to spray too early. You again, like with corn, you want to spray when the canopy is about to close in, so that way the ground is shaded and you don't have as much weed pressure coming back. But we might have to come out here and hit this with some spray. But yeah, this is a toughie. I might have to let this sit a couple days, come back, visit it, and see if we're continuing to grow. I don't really know what to do with it. I've noticed too, you know, looking across this field, you look how uniform this is, and then you come over here and you see how spotty this is. I don't know what is the culprit over here. It's the same bean, but we've got quite a few areas. It just doesn't look like it doesn't look like they germinated and came up. Once we get up here, everything changes. It looks good all throughout there, but from right about this ridge this way, it is thin. And it might be worth to come in here and just plant, not with the rows so you don't run over the good stuff, but just kind of plant this area back and forth this way. Look at him. What'd I say about deer inundation? There's one right there. Doesn't even care that I'm here. And I can't believe that we have deer issues on this parcel, because we're between highways. There's a highway there. There's a highway, main highway there. Holy crap, look at him. He's running over to me. Hey, guy. What is it with today? Would you look at that? That is wild. I'm guessing the mommy died and he hasn't seen anybody. You the one eating all the beans? Huh? You eating all the soybeans? Oh, there he goes. And there he goes, eating beans. He looks like he'd be tender and tasty. Well, I never thought that would happen while I was out here, but you know, why not? I'll say this, at least he's honest. You know, he's not coming out in the cover of darkness and eating my crops when no one's around. He's letting me know he's doing it. I guess there's something to be said for that. I don't know what to do with this. I'm conflicted. Wait, stop the video, stop the credits. I have been laboring my mind all night long as to what to do with these beans out here. Well, you've got your answer. It's the next day. I figured this late in the season, it's better to have the beans, even if there's too many out here, than not having any. So we are replanting this section I showed you yesterday. After really thinking about it, I figured if we have a 60 to 70% stand out here that the deer didn't obliterate, and then when I replant, I'll be at 60-70% stand of that. That'll put me somewhere around 180,000 beans and plants that actually emerge after you figure germination rates. And that's right about where you want to be this time of year. So yeah, we're out here, we're redoing it. I couldn't bring myself to not redo it. All right, so I wanted to show you guys kind of the way we do a replant. At least this, how we did this replant. As you can see, the rows go this way, but I planted this way. Now, I didn't do that because of any reason of it growing better or anything like that. I did it because the shape of the replanted area was this. So it was to go this way. So rather than trying to make these little turns back and forth in this little area to go with the rows, it's just better to, you're going to replant it anyway, it's going to come up, hopefully, if the deer don't eat it. But it's just better to kind of follow the contour of the area you want to replant. Now here's something interesting that I thought you guys would like to see. See, we ran right over these beans, okay? Run right over them, but look at them. Yes, this stalk broke, so that one probably won't come back, but this one's fine, that one's fine, that one's fine. Everywhere I've run over them, maybe half of them are dead, but then that'll be compensated by the beans we planted. So just because you run over these beans when they're this young doesn't mean they're dead and not going to come back. I mean, you can still see there's a lot of green left where we replanted this way, but you can still clearly see the row, and I would say half of that in the row will stay alive. So hopefully when this comes back and germinates and the new plants come up, because it's warmer now than it was and we got really good moisture, hopefully it'll germinate fast, get out of the ground, and the larger beans will help attract the deer to, and they won't eat the smaller ones. That's just a hope. No scientific analysis there. I mean, I think the deer are just going to eat everything and anything, but the hope would be that they'd munch on the leaves of the big plants and leave the little ones alone to become bigger. And like I said before, once beans get to a certain height, the deer can't really hurt too much. Now, we come over here to this part of the field, and we did it a little different here because it was so much that had to be replanted in here. I had enough room to go with the row. So what we did was we ran the tractor so that way we planted right here. So these new seeds we just planted will come up right here in this row, here, in between these two rows. Now, instead of having 15-inch spaced soybeans, we've got 7.5-inch spacing because we split it perfect right down the middle of what was already planted. So very little of the existing crop was damaged. And the hope is that where we just have so many blank spaces in the field that did not survive the deer or did not come up and populate, one or the other, that now with these beans filling in, we'll get a decent stand out of it and hopefully, you know, retain a decent yield. So we went right down the row. The tires were running in between the rows, so it still hit these plants, the tire did, but you can see it's there, it's viable, and that's because it's young enough that the stalk isn't rigid yet. So basically all it did was lay the plant over and then it comes back. All right, now we can stop the film. It's over, it's done. All right, thank you all for watching and goodbye from Delmarva. We're finally done. Shorebilly Farmer, out. This is Socks, our watch cat, our guard cat, our night watchman. Can I come through? Huh? Can I go through the door? I'll take that as a yes. The password is pineapple. All right, we just barely got by with our lives, so I think that was the correct password.